Hello and welcome back to my Dandelion Diaries. We are here with another ink exploration today. So we have moved through so many colors so far and we lasted yellows, and I wanted to continue on with our autumn colors, and to me that means orange. So we're just going to segue straight into all of the oranges. I've broken up our oranges into 3 categories, and this is the first one, and that is yellow oranges. These honestly could probably be considered yellow in some cases. I just think they're a little bit too orange to be yellow, but that's solely my opinion. For supplies today, I have my standard 𝗦𝘃𝗽 𝗦𝗵cie notebook here with the original 𝗤𝗏 paper. I have, I think, 9 samples, 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah, 9 samples. My 𝗂𝗍𝗏 brass tip pen with the sakura wood handle, a plastic dropper today, the stainless steel condiment cup, which was inspired by Liam Lakes. Then we have my old t-shirt and a jar of water over here. And then I have been continuing on with my tape dispenser because I have yet to pick up an ink vial holder. I'm hoping maybe Christmas I'll get one, but we'll see. But let's just go ahead and dive straight in with our very first color, and that is going to be the Jacques Herbin, I think it's Cornaline d'Egypte. It's the 1798 version, and it is a shimmer ink. This ink is probably a bit more orange, honestly, than yellow, but this shimmer that's in it is kind of like this coppery gold color, and that's kind of what made me want to put it into this category versus just straight orange. It is honestly gorgeous to look at. I really enjoy this ink. I'm actually almost out of my sample. I may pick up another sample or I may not. I haven't really decided yet, but this ink is definitely a stunner when it dries down, and I'm excited for you guys to see it. The next ink sample we have here is by PenBBS, and this is number 154. I think it's Zhu Ziqing. Again, this one's a little bit interesting spelling wise, so I'm not really sure on pronunciation. This ink is a beautiful, warm, sunset yellow orange. It is, I love this color. PenBBS is honestly a pretty new brand for me in terms of ink brands, but I have liked the couple that I have tried. I have another purple one from this brand as well. And I have to say, in terms of ink flow and quality, I'm not upset. It's pretty standard to me. Price-wise, I think it's also pretty standard. It's about the same as most other brands. It's not overly expensive, but it's not super cheap either. So it's kind of like an average middle ground ink to me. But this color is very beautiful, and it does have some nice shading when it dries down as well. The next ink we have here is another one of the Ancient Charms inks, which I talked about in my, I think, olive video. But this is Moon of the West River, and it is another shimmer ink. Like the other inks that I have tried from this brand, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous color, and the shimmer on this one is, again, very stunning. It does have that kind of golden shimmer, which is why I did want to put it in more of like the orangey yellow tones, because the base is pretty medium orange in my opinion. I remember when I asked about the olive version of this ink, I think it was like Song of the Southern Country is the name of it, that a lot of people were able to find it in an Australian-based company that I believe had Desk in the name. I'd have to re-reference my video. But this ink is really beautiful, and again, I can't really find it anywhere except for that Australian-based company, so if you're willing to pay for the shipping, if you're in the US, go for it, or if you're in Australia, I really hope you enjoy these inks for the rest of us, because they seem to be pretty hard to find. The next ink we have here is DeAtramentis Mahatma Gandhi. I'm just going to call it the Gandhi ink because I struggle to pronounce his first name. Although I can't pronounce his first name, and apparently I can't spell his last name, the Gandhi ink is one of my favorite oranges to write with, and I think it's just because it's DeAtramentis. I've talked about my love for DeAtramentis inks on this channel for quite a while, and this one is no stranger to that love. It is juicy, it is well-flowing, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous warm orange color. Yeah, this one's really fun to write with. I honestly really think this is a great like spring or summer ink if you wanted a bright orange pop of color on your pages. I don't really consider this one autumn, even though it is orange, and this video is going up in the autumn months. But yeah, this ink is stunning, and I love writing with it. And if I had to pick an orange, like a yellow orange one to get a bottle of, it's probably this one or the next ink that I'm going to talk about. And with that, the next ink is Sailor Manyo Yamabuki. And Sailor Manyo Yamabuki is probably a bit more yellow, like on the yellow side of the yellow oranges, and this one is just, yes, I love it. So yeah, between the two DeAtramentis Gandhi ink and then the Sailor Manyo Yamabuki, these would probably be the two I'd get the bottle of. But I would say the Manyo Yamabuki can be a bit light depending on which pen you put it in. I've had a lot of success with it in like more medium style nibs and even some fines that are a bit more wet flowing, like a Western fine. But I find that in Japanese fine or even some extra fine pens, this ink is just too light for me, which is kind of sad because it's so beautiful. Yeah, if you've watched my entire Manyo lineup video, you'll know exactly what this ink dries down to and how beautiful it is. But I'll save the overview for the end when I review all of the inks, but this one is just, I love this ink so much. We wouldn't have a yellow-orange ink video without Noodler's Southwest Sunset, previously known as the Apache Sunset ink. And I think this one is, it's beautiful and it's vibrant and it's very wet flowing. But I've talked about this a couple of times on my channel, and probably why you don't really see a lot of Noodler's inks in my videos is I have a problem with the texture of Noodler inks. In terms of texture for Noodlers, it is just too wet. It is, I don't know, every one that I've tried just has this, I don't know, wateriness to them that just really, they don't do well with me for some reason. I will say out of the bunch, this one is a very beautiful color, and this is honestly probably more well-behaved of the Noodler's inks that I've tried. But I don't really steer towards this brand because it is just too watery for what I like to write with, I guess. I prefer something to have a little bit more flow, which is funny because it's watery, right? Anyways, Noodler Southwest Sunset is this gorgeous golden yellow base, and then when it dries down, the shading is this gorgeous warm orange. So it's definitely a bit more of the yellow orange versus yellow. I know a lot of people classify this one as a yellow ink. I personally do not. I do think this one is more orange, and I think it's only because of the shading. If it kept more of its base color in like large writing pages, I'd probably say it's more yellow, but maybe that's why I'm putting it in the middle between orange and yellow. But yeah, Noodler's is a great brand for price though. It is a really good price if you can get it in the US. The next ink we have here is Lamy Mango, and this is actually my second sample of this one. And this is my second sample because my first sample got completely contaminated with blue ink. So the original Lamy Mango sample I had is kind of like this ugly, like poopy green color now. But the beautiful normal Lamy Mango is this. It is this stunning, like light orangey yellow color. It's a bit more muted than most of the other inks I have today, but it is still really beautiful. I do think this one is, again, a bit more yellow than orange, so take that as you will. In a finer nib, this is definitely more yellow. In a broader nib, it's a bit more orange. So it's kind of one of those, like the Noodlers, where you kind of get what you get depending on which pen you put it in. I will say Lamy inks tend to be a bit more muted, I guess, in color tone for me. They're not super pigmented like the Herbin inks or even the DeAtramentis inks. Those are really pigmented, like in your face. But the Lamy inks are a bit more relaxed to look at, maybe a bit softer on the eyes. But still a beautiful ink, and I'm glad I got a second sample because I do enjoy writing with this one, but I'm not going to commit to a full bottle just because it's a little too light for me. The next sample we have here is Ferris Wheel Press Main Street Marmalade. And this ink is too light for me. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to put this one into more of the oranges or orange yellow. It's just a light orange ink to me. It does have some nice shading when it dries down, but I would probably use this one for painting, as a wash on the page. I wouldn't really write with this one. Probably in a really broad nib pen or even maybe a stub or something like that, this would look really, really pretty. And it is a beautiful color, and then it's kind of like this warm orange color. But it's too light. I can't see myself writing with this one very much. I think it would make beautiful in terms of painting with, like I said, but I don't think it's good for writing just because it is a bit too light. And I know Ferris Wheel Press is really famous for their lighter inks being better for projects versus just writing with, but they do make some beautiful ones that are really great for writing with too. So kind of up to you on this one. If it's too light for me, it may not be too light for you. So just keep that in mind. And the last ink we have is DeAtramentis Document Orange. This ink is not really orange to me. It's definitely a bit more yellow orange, which is why it's in this category, but it is a document ink, which means it is a bit more permanent. Apparently you can mix the document inks together by DeAtramentis. I learned that after my last video, the yellow ink exploration we did, because I talked about the yellow document ink by DeAtramentis. So I would assume with this ink, you could easily mix it with one of the darker colors and make something a bit more legible. But in terms of flow, again, DeAtramentis, wonderful flow, nice and juicy. I've never had any problems with them in pens. I do think since it is a document ink, that does make it a bit more valuable because it is more permanent. It's a bit more waterproof. I don't see myself writing with this one. I would definitely paint with this one, like I would say with the yellow. But maybe I'll try mixing these with some of my other document DeAtramentis inks and see if I can come up with some really fun colors, and maybe that will be a bit more legible for me to write with, and I can use up this ink sample versus just painting with it, but we'll see what happens. I do like this ink. I think out of the document line, the orange is a pretty color. I like it better than the yellow, obviously, because it's a bit more legible. But I would say in terms of shading, it doesn't really have any, and it's still pretty standard ink in terms of colorway. So not super exciting to end on, but it is still a beautiful ink nonetheless. All right, so I'm going to let these finish drying down on the page here, and I will be back in a minute and we'll talk about close-ups, colors, and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'll see you guys in a minute. All right, we are back and everything has pretty much dried down. There's a few wet spots, but I'm gonna zoom you guys in and we will just do some close-ups. Starting with our first swatch here, we had that Herbin, I think it's Cornaline d'Egypte. Again, my French is getting better, but I'm still working on it. It is that gorgeous kind of like ruddy orange color with that kind of champagne shimmer, honestly. I thought it was a bit more gold than this is not what I remember it being, but it is beautiful. I don't think this one's really yellow orange anymore. I think it is a bit more orange, but I still am glad that I can showcase it for you guys today. Then we had PenBBS Zhu Ziqing, maybe. Again, very beautiful color, gorgeous shading. It does have a very minor black sheen around that orange shading in there in the middle, but it's not super strong, so I don't think it would really show up in writing that much. I will say this one is a bit more orange than yellow orange, but I do still really enjoy this color, and that shading it's pretty hard to beat. Then we had Ancient Charms, Moon of the West River. Beautiful kind of gold shimmer there. You can hardly see it. I wonder if I didn't uptake enough shimmer when I did the swatch, but it is quite beautiful orange again. It doesn't really look yellow orange without that shimmer, but the little bit of shimmer that it does have right here it's gold. I mean, it does make it look a bit more yellow orange in those spots. Then we had DeAtramentis Gandhi. Again, this one is warm yellow orange, but it's a bit darker. I wouldn't consider it super yellow. It does appear a bit more orange in this color right here than yellow orange, but it is much lighter than obviously the Egypte up here and also the Ziqing. So I think it's still pretty standard. Then we had Sailor Manyo Yamabuki. Absolutely love this color. It does have a tiny bit of a orange, like almost pink sheen to it. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. It is still wet in one spot on there, so just keep that in mind. But the base is definitely a golden yellow color, and the shading is to more of that orange. Absolutely gorgeous. I love this ink. Again, I think if I had to pick a bottle of any of the inks I swatched today, it would be one of these two for sure. Then we had Noodler's Southwest Sunset, previously known as Apache Sunset. This one is still a little bit wet, but it does have, again, that kind of like pinkish red sheen almost. And it does have gorgeous shading. Like I said, it's a beautiful base golden yellow color with the darker orange shading. So it could be considered more orange or more yellow, depending on what pen you write with. I do still dislike the consistency of Noodler's inks, but if this is a color that you're drawn to, feel free. I do think these take a lot longer to dry down though, just because of how watery they are, which maybe that's why I don't really like it, because I write with a lot of paper that takes, I flip through it, so I don't want to smear my ink all the time. Then we had Lamy Mango, again, a gorgeous, more muted yellow-orange color. It does have a bit of a, again, pink to red sheen on the outer of that shading right there. It didn't shade down as well as it normally does. I don't know what happened there, but it is usually a little bit darker in the shading areas, but it just kind of stayed about the same this time. But that's okay. It's still a very good color to fit in this family, in my opinion. Then we had Ferris Press Main Street Marmalade, and this whole thing shaded. You can kind of see a little bit of the base color right here, but the rest of it, this is all shading. So I would say the shading is pretty high on this one. It's a beautiful light orange color. I don't know if it could really be considered yellow-orange, but I still really enjoy painting with it or like drawing with it. It's not really a writing ink for me, and that's okay. Then we had, lastly, DeAtramentis Document Orange. Again, this one is more yellow to me than orange, which is why I put it in this category. It does have a little bit of a sheen on the shaded parts right here, which isn't really that shaded anymore, but it is, again, that kind of like orangey pink sheen. And since it is documented as a bit more permanent, I may try mixing this with maybe, I don't know, a red or something, a little, like a couple of drops of red ink, and see if I can darken it a bit and see what I get. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it like it is. All right, so that's it for our yellow oranges. I'm saying, I don't know, I feel like this side is a bit more yellow orange and this side is a bit more orange, so these ones did not turn out the way I remember them, but that's okay. I'm still glad we did this kind of ink experiment or exploration, and we will continue with more oranges coming soon. I'm trying to do at least one a week right now for our ink explorations. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have a favorite, I would love to hear it down in the comments. If you're interested in more of my ink explorations, I have a whole playlist dedicated to every single ink that I have done so far, with full collections and just kind of fun experimental ones too. So you can check that out. I have it in the description, and I'll also link it up in the cards. But for now, I think I'm going to leave it at this, and I thank you guys so much for watching as usual, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.